Milltown Capital has been making some significant investments in firms throughout the city. And we have with us in this episode Tim Burke, managing partner. And Tim, thank you for being here with us today.
Sure, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'd like to learn a little bit more about Milltown and sort of the philosophy behind the company and why it's been investing in so many different areas throughout the city. I've noticed that it's involved in local businesses, it's involved in frameworks, which is a co-working space. Mm-hmm. I believe it's also involved in some housing opportunities that are coming up.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in Milltown.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Pittsfield, so I grew up here, went to high school at St. Joe, and my family and my wife were all from the Berkshires, but had, went away to college and had a career in corporate finance in the Boston area, but we're always interested in kind of coming back to the Berkshires. And about 3 years ago, I got connected with Dave Mixer, and he was interested in putting some capital to work back in Berkshire County as a way to try to drive economic development and opportunities in the Berkshires, and we formed Milltown back in October of 2016, so about 3 years ago.
About 3. What was the first? What was the first venture that you were able to back?
Yeah, the first thing we did was Framework, which is as you mentioned, a co-working space in downtown Pittsfield, and co-working has been a pretty, it's very hot trend in the news right now with WeWork, but we kind of looked at it as an opportunity to take over some vacant space downtown and give people the opportunity to work downtown. And we have a lot of independent contractors, consultants, attorneys. Our office is based there. So Framework was really the first thing that we kind of came in and said, well, we need an office. This is a gap in the market from a co-working standpoint. Let's just build it and kind of figure it out from a business standpoint. And it's kind of worked since day one. So that was really the first kind of business thing we did. And since then we've done a number of different things, both on the business and real estate side as well.
So why in particular did you feel that Pittsfield was at a point where you would be able to come back and really be able to invest in the city?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental driver of us being here is we're from here. Dave's originally from Dalton. He went to Wacona. Like I said, I grew up in Pittsfield. So Dave has had a real interest in helping the Berkshires and trying to do things from an investment standpoint in the Berkshires for a long time. So I think the fact that we're from here and we kind of believe in the area, and Dave spent a lot of time early on looking around and trying to figure out if there were pockets of innovation or pockets of business that we could help grow. And I think what we realized pretty quickly is there's some of that, but it's so diverse and eclectic that we really need to have a lot of chips on the table, so to speak, to really make an impact here. And that's kind of what the approach has been over the past few years, is let's just try to get involved in a lot of different things, and we'll see what kind of bubbles up from there and try to generate traction and momentum from some of the investments.
Yeah, if you look at some of the things that you have been invested in, you're right. Eclectic is a really good word for it, because it's sort of like little bits and pieces all over the place. So what in particular has attracted, what businesses in particular have attracted you felt would be able to gain that traction?
Well, I think our initial thought process was we could invest in venture type businesses, so early stage startups, and the reality is there's just not that many of them in the Berkshires that really should take outside investment. There's a lot of businesses and entrepreneurship, but I think they're more on a local level versus a kind of a scalable basis that would be good for us to invest in. So I think we've done a couple of our own internal things and businesses that we've started. We've invested in a couple of startup businesses and have worked pretty closely with other people in that ecosystem. And then I think more recently we've focused a lot more on real estate and using investment in real estate, investment in housing as a way to really make a visible impact on the county and really on Pittsfield. Pittsfield's housing stock in particular is really old. We're constantly hearing from the large employers like General Dynamics and Berkshire Health Systems that housing is a challenge for employees, and these are growing employers in the area. And we've kind of always had the outlook that if we can do whatever we can to help them be successful, then that will have a huge impact on the economy.
Yeah, there are, as you notice, small businesses in particular sometimes have a lot of trouble getting capital to get themselves going. So do you see that sort of as an angel investment to a certain degree to really help small business and entrepreneurs grow in this area?
I think the way we've approached it is to try to support groups or entities that have that kind of expertise in that structure. So E4All is a good example of that, which has just launched a presence in Pittsfield, and they're an entity that originally started in, I think, Lowell or Lawrence, and they have outposts all over the state now that work with those early stage entrepreneurs in gateway cities and help them with their business plans, with access to capital. So we see that as a way that we can kind of participate in helping businesses get off the ground without us kind of directly investing in them. Because the challenge with, I think, investing in smaller early stage businesses on a Main Street level is, they may never get big enough to the point where they can return money to investors, and you don't want to kind of get into a situation where that's not part of the plan. So I think, working with groups like Lever, with groups like E4All, with groups like, One Berkshires Mentor Network or the Small Business Development Center, these are all groups that have that expertise, that are plugged into that early stage business scene, and we can kind of work together with them to fund some of those things. And then we can shift our time and resources to more bigger investments on the real estate side or the community development and philanthropy side, which we've done quite a bit of as well.
Right. So what are you involved in real estate at the moment?
So we own I don't exact number off the top of my head, roughly 150 units of housing in the city, almost entirely in Pittsfield. We own a few commercial businesses, pretty focused in a couple different areas. We're involved in the St. Mary's Church project on Tyler Street. And it's basically we're trying to make, everything we buy, we're trying to improve it, upgrade it, make it safe, make it habitable, and not really raise rents, and just trying to keep that market rate housing supply increasing in Berkshire County. We have a few commercial assets. We, the Lantern is one.
I noticed that the Lantern. Does Milltown own that building, or are you?
Yeah, so we own the building, and we worked closely with the entrepreneur Bjorn, who now owns the business, to renovate that and complete the transaction and get that up and running again. So that's been up since, I think, January of this year, and is doing pretty well.
Yeah, I just found it interesting when I was going through the list of the different businesses that Milltown is involved in. It was like the Lantern stood out. You're also involved in Vault, which I believe is a Lever. They helped with that startup a couple years ago, and that is Passwords?
Password management.
Password management, yes.
Yep. So Vault's an example of an early stage company that we were able to invest in, and Lever's also an investor, and worked with them on more of kind of an accelerator basis as well.
So what do you look for when you are looking for investment things? What is it about a small business or startup that attracts you to begin with?
I think the first thing and the main thing is the entrepreneur, it's people, and you're kind of looking for somebody who has some experience in what they're doing, whether that's as an entrepreneur or kind of background in it from their business experience. And they have to have kind of the passion and the drive to really see it through, because it's really hard to build a company and scale it and get it to a point where you can either sell it or grow it to a point where it's really valuable. So the first thing we look for is people and their expertise and their background and their knowledge about the space. And then I think the next piece is just from a business model standpoint, does it have the chance to be successful anywhere, and not just with a Berkshire County lens on it, but is this a business that could be successful against any competitor in their marketplace, and not just thinking about it with a Berkshire County hat on, because if they're going to be truly scalable and successful, they have to be able to compete against other businesses all over the place.
Yeah. I know it is difficult for we're still a startup. We've been doing it for 20 years.
Right.
Berkshires. So, what would you like people to take away from this interview to understand about Milltown?
Yeah, and I think it's a good question, because it's hard for a lot of people to get, what are we doing and why are we doing it? I think fundamentally what our goal is just to improve the Berkshires, to improve Pittsfield and make it a better place for people to live, a better place for people to work, and a better place for people to, have a quality of life and activities beyond living and working. So that's kind of how we structure our mission, is live, work, and play. So we're focused on real estate from a living standpoint, business from a work standpoint, and a lot of different things on the play side when it comes to things like outdoor recreation and investing in parks and fields and athletics and races and just the kind of what makes the Berkshires a great place to live. So we try to be all encompassing on that fact, but the ultimate mission is to make Pittsfield better. So it's pretty, I think, community minded from that standpoint.
That's what interested me, was the sort of the philosophy behind it, that seemed to be, wasn't simply a fact that you want to make money, because obviously you need money to invest more money, but
Right.
the idea that you just want to also make the area better for
Right.
people to live, work, and play. And that's what really struck me about this firm.
Yeah, and I think there's a financial component to it, but all of that is driving the sustainability of what we're doing, and we're trying to be able to, the money we make, put back into the systems that we can generate, and the improvements that we can drive.
Okay.
So.
Thank you so much for being with us. And again, this is Tim Burke, Managing Director of Milltown Capital, and it's been very informative.
Great, thanks for having me.